Sorry, y'all. Well, that's just too far away. I'm going to bring this closer. Let's see, is that a little better? Yeah, that's a little better. Okay. We're out here towards the road because it's the only shade I can find at the moment. And of course I forgot my speaker or microphone way back in the car. And I'm too tired to go back and get it. I've spent yesterday in so much stress. I know everybody has been asking me, well, make a Amazon list and let us assist, and I want to be able to do that. But UPS, which is who would bring it out here, seems to be having problems making assumptions. This is the second time they have come out here, either not noticed the car sitting there, or I don't know, but basically they see the house, they see it was in a fire, they assume, oh, nobody lives there. Drive in the driveway and you would see that my car is there, my tint is there, you know. Yeah, I don't have it right straight in the path. Hello, hair. But, you know, it's there. So I've spent the last 2 days on first off, they have an automated machine that doesn't understand the words no or operator or assistance please. Instead, it makes you get ticked off. And I was calling it multiple times until finally, there's a truck, hold on. Until finally it would let me through to an operator. Then when I get through, I can barely hear them. And they've got heavy accents. I don't know from where, but they have heavy accents compared to me, you know. I mean, I can put on my hillbilly accent if I need to, but I ain't doing it. I was raised all over the U.S., so I kind of got a little bit from everywhere. So once a linguistics that worked for the FBI told me, you were born in Alabama and learned to speak the most of your speak in Illinois. I was totally amazed. Totally amazed. But anyhow, I promised that I would tell the story about the fire. So let's give it a shot. It's about the Ides of March. I think it was like the 13th or the 14th. I can't really remember the exact day. But it was stormy. It was stormy. There was a chance of tornadoes. And so I automatically put my keys in the bathroom so I could grab them easily as I went out the door. I had my purse in my car and a few other things in there because you never know around here. My nearest tornado shelter is 4 or 5 miles away. And even that's a first come, first serve in a tiny town. So it's not, from what my mama told me, it's not that big of a shelter. And you're lucky if you can get in. A person my size, I would feel horrid if I was taking the place of 2 young kids, you know? No, I would stay out. But anyhow, that was the situation. It was a stormy night. But I convinced myself I can, put this in the Lord's hands. If He wakes me up, I'll wake up. I went to bed. Around 3 a.m., I woke up. Now, that's not abnormal for me. I mean, I've got a bladder that's... Anywho, 3 a.m. is a normal wake-up time for me to use the restroom and go back to bed. So, I woke up, and things seemed strange. But not so much, because I sleep with my bedroom light on. It helps me to relax when I wake up in a panic, because I can see instantly the familiarity around me. And so I sleep with my bedroom light on. Well, I looked up, and it was like there was some movement around my light bulb. Now, I'm still laying in bed. I'm like, that's weird, and it smells strange. So I reach over and I grab my phone, and I grab my glasses. All I had were my reading glasses. That's this pair. The other pair were in the car because I use them for driving. So I go to the door. Nothing seems hot or anything like that. It's just this weird smell. I open the door to my bedroom, and I see these black clouds just rolling in towards me. And it was terrifying. And I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see. It was so toxic. The fumes were so toxic. And I dropped my phone. But I knew I had to have my phone so I could call 911, because I'm out here in the country. Who knows who's going to spot it, So I dropped my phone, so I knelt down to try and feel around to find my phone. And as I did, I realized that I could breathe better down there. So I searched around, found my phone. This is all just seconds apart. It didn't take long or anything. I just was frantic. And in a frantic mind, everything takes forever. So I found my phone, grabbed it, took a really deep breath, and ran straight towards my back door. Totally forgot about the keys in the bathroom, y'all. Sorry. I don't know why I thought that would work for a tornado, but it didn't work for a fire. But I got to the back door, unbolted it, and got out onto the back porch where I could breathe. I could hear some crackling going on. I could hear some popping, big popping, like explosion kind of popping. And I sat on the steps for a second, long enough to try and call 911. Well, I pushed the 9, and I it was like I couldn't concentrate enough to know what to do next. But it was okay, because a long time ago, and I had totally forgotten it, you know how you can program somebody's phone to call your phone to call a certain number if you push, a 2 or a 3 or whatever, and it calls mom or it calls, your sister or whatever. Well, I had programmed 9 to automatically call 911. So even though my brain couldn't figure out what to do besides the 9, even though it was thinking 911, it wasn't communicating with my hands, and it was so terrifying. But I heard a lady come on. I explained that my house is on fire and that I got out. I could hear my cats meowing, but I knew I couldn't find them in that. All I could think of was to leave the back door open for them, and maybe they would follow me out. I had a mama and her 3 kittens, and I could hear them all. And so I left the back door open, and I'm talking to this lady, and I mean, you've seen how large I am. I don't walk very much without having a walker or a walking stick or something to hold on to, because it's too easy to lose my balance. And with the walker, it makes it so that I can sit down quickly, so that, if my sciatica goes out or my hip goes out, I can sit and be safe. But I ran. I'm sure if anybody were watching me, they'd think I was walking. But for my little heart and my big bod, I was running. And you've seen the weeds around this place. I had already gotten to the point where I could not yank the cord on the weed whacker any longer. So basically, that was not an option. But anyhow, I digress. I went out in the back. The amazing thing, I remember that I could smell the peppermint as I ran through it. But I ran way out into the field, trying to get further away from the building first. And then I came up the side and around. And I can't really even say it was a run. It was a push myself as hard as I could, fall, crawl, get up, push myself as hard as I could, fall, crawl, get up. And I was petrified, and I was trying to keep the lady on the phone, and I could see, by the time I got around to the side of the house, I could see that there were fire trucks coming. One had pulled in right behind my car. Right in front of my car, just trying to get out, But So I wouldn't have been able to move the car had I had the keys. But anyhow, I kept falling. I kept falling, and nobody could see me. All they could see was the fire, and they were doing their job, and they were trying to do that. And there were, out here lined up on the highway, it seemed like there were 8 or 9 vehicles with flashing lights, and only the one engine was in here. I don't know if they were lined up waiting to come in one at a time kind of thing, or what happened, but I kept yelling, trying to get their attention, and waving the best I could from where I'd fallen. And even when I got up, I was waving, trying to get attention, to get somebody to come over and give me a shoulder to lean on, to get myself up and to walk. And I finally crawled around through all the wild blackberries or raspberries, I don't remember what they are, but through all of the briars. And as I got closer and closer to the driveway, it still seemed like nobody could hear me. I have a row of tires that line the driveway because I had people pulling off the driveway and then they'd get stuck, because we have a lot of clay soil here. And so once I went to go climbing over the tires on the side, one gentleman saw me and came and helped me over the tires and had me sit on the back bumper of the fire truck. So I was still right about where I am now, which, let me kind of show you how far away from the house that is. Oh, I'm just gonna turn it here a little bit this way. There's where my old car is. And there's where the house is. You've seen me walk. I mean, you know how difficult it is for me. So, and this is where the highway is. It's just right there. So I'm about halfway down my driveway. So I got to there, and my dog's kennel is just on the other side of my pecan tree. You can barely even see it, or I'd try and show it to you. But you've seen it in other videos. I was sitting kind of next to it when I did that morning video. But their kennel was there, and I kept trying to tell people to let them out so at least they had a chance to run away from the fire, because I mean that's what, maybe 30, 50 feet from the fire is where they were, and with all the dry weeds and everything, it was spreading. They told me they would. Later on, they told me they did, but that the dogs refused to go out of the gate. They instead hid in their little house. And I was just so scared for them. I mean, I was scared for me, but I was scared for them because they were trapped. They weren't like me. They didn't have a door they could just go through. And then they have all these bright lights and flashings and noises and strangers and everything that they felt that they had to hide from instead of get away from the danger. But I left it in God's hands. And they walked me out to the road. There was a rescue squad, I think is what it's called, just a smaller fire truck kind of thing out there, that they had me sit in the back seat while we waited for an ambulance to come. And so I was really amazed at all of those vehicles and there wasn't an ambulance. I mean, even in that moment I could think, what? That didn't make sense to me. But they were on their way. Out here, everything is volunteer. Volunteer, fire department, everything. And so at that point, while I was in the squad, I called my kids. And, well, I called two of them, anyhow. I said, look, there's a fire at the house. I just want you to know that I'm okay. And I'll call you back later. They're going to take me to the hospital, but I want you to know I'm okay. And because at least with these two, I have always had like a empathic connection to, you know, and sometimes with the others as well, but these two in particular. So I called them, then I called my friend BJ and let her know so that she could have elders come out to the hospital. When they asked me which hospital I was going to, I told them I wanted the one in Corinth. Just because our local, if you could call it local, it's still 20 minutes to get there. Our local hospital basically is only set up to deal with heart attacks. So anything else, they have to ship them out to either Corinth or Nashville or Florence, Alabama. And so I didn't want to have to be shipped again. So they took me to Corinth and started me on breathing treatments, put me in the hospital for a couple of days while they helped with my breathing. And even though I can breathe better now, I still haven't gotten my singing voice back yet. It probably seems like a silly thing to be concerned about, but I love praising the Lord. And I always thought that was one of my good features, you know, besides my pretty hair, my pretty eyes, I could sing. And now I keep hitting the wrong keys. So it's kind of sad. It's a new normal I'm not willing to give into yet. I keep thinking it's going to heal, it's going to heal. You know, I just need to give it time, it's going to heal. I'm so sorry, it's very busy today for some reason. I mean, it's a Thursday morning, but it is very busy today. Once I got in the hospital, I had my girlfriends show up with toiletries and outfits. I had different sisters and from church come in and bring me clothes. I had my brother go stop at the Walmart and pick me up some shorts and even a bra. No one else thought of a bra but my brother, which I thought, well, that's pretty cool, you know. But he also brought me a sewing kit, so I'm like, yeah, he knows me. But I had several friends show up that brought me, you know, things to do with my hands, coloring books, things, you know, some sort of art that I could keep busy with. Clothing. It's very difficult in a country setting like this to find women's clothing in a 4X, and when I have to order online, anything coming from China, I have to order like a 6 to a 8X because their sizes are just not the same as ours. And I would rather have something that's too big and have to take it in than have it not fit at all, because I'll never get around to that sewing project. From there, when I left the hospital, I went to my friend's house for a couple of days, but she was leaving town. She had some medical things she was doing, and so I couldn't stay there for very long, just a couple of days. And then my church put me up at a hotel there in town, so I would still be close to the hospital if they needed to come and get me and take me to the hospital or something like that. In that week, my son Joe started arranging his schedule to come and pick me up. He has a sweet woman, his wife, I love Wit, that is doing surrogacy, and so he had to save all his FMLA time for her surrogacy that's coming up. And so I think he literally figured out, okay, he's got this day off, and so he had this 3-day weekend coming up. So if he called in sick one day, you know, he would have 4 days to come and get me. And it was like 2 weeks after all of this, but it was fairly quick. He was going to try and rent a U-Haul, wasn't able to afford that, so he rented a pickup truck as a vehicle to drive, you know, instead his car wasn't up to the trip. But he rented a pickup truck and he drove it down here. By the time he got here, the church had taken my melted vehicle. Oh, if I can find it, I'm going to add some pictures in here at the end so that you can see just kind of a display of pictures I was getting while in the hospital and in that first week from other people. I mean, I had a sweet, wonderful person that, Anastasia, I met her through Facebook via my husband before he passed, and we never really had a chance to meet outside of to meet once and exchange seeds. You know, we were both Morris Chapel, but she's one end and I'm the other kind of a thing. But actually I'm not even in Morris Chapel. But anyhow, we're in the same vicinity. But here's this sweet woman I never really had a chance to really know, and she came over every day that I was gone, and she fed my dogs and took care of them until I could get the shelter to come out and take them in. They're no-kill shelter, and they're the exact same shelter we adopted them from to begin with when they were still puppies, Mama and I. And I know this is long. I'm so sorry. It's a long story. But anyhow, my son came. By then my church had transferred me to a closer hotel so that I was, after they had fixed my car for me, I was able to drive down there and then drive here ever so often so I can try to do something. But the panic and everything was so large. The only thing I really got finished doing was being able to say goodbye to my puppies. And there was a big 50-pound bag of dog food in the back of my van. And so when the shelter had picked them up, I went to the shelter. I found that they were doing okay and donated the bag. And it took them a day or two, but they had got them so that they could stay in kennels right next to each other, which took so much stress off of them. And you could see that they were happy. They had been under so much stress. The ladies brought them out to me, and even though they were off of work already, they brought them out to me, and I sat on the bench outside because I couldn't walk very far from the car. I don't think I even had my walker yet. I don't remember. But I sat on the bench, and these sweet, sweet, sweet ladies brought my two puppies over and just let me cuddle and love on them and everything. And I released them from my calling as my protector and told them that they would find the most beloved homes. And I was praying for them. And I was so sorry they had to go through that. Sorry. I'm not being my cheerful self right now, but I'm being real. Anyhow, my son got here. He went in. He tried to video things, do a video conference with me on the phone, kind of a thing, while I stayed out here. I was still dealing in panic. I didn't have it in me to go inside there, and we didn't know how strong the flooring was or anything anywhere. So he went in and he rescued the things that I knew precisely where they were. And during all of this, I had a sister that brought a friend, and he went in and got my car keys and and transferred them to one of the brethren, who transferred them to another brethren who was working on my vehicle, or so that they could pick up my vehicle. But I almost forgot that part. I'm sorry, Mindy. um, but so we loaded up what we could, what we knew I absolutely needed. He went through my back. We couldn't get my hospital bed out of the house, but I had a secondary hospital bed when, it's a whole nother story. I'll talk to the hospital beds in another story. And needless to say, I have one. My son took it with us. I didn't know they could unfold that much, but anyhow, he got that. We got Mom and Daddy's dragon because it hadn't been cemented down yet, and we were afraid that someone would steal it. And we took it and we put it up in a place at his house. It's on the top of a hill. I think people could see it for miles, which Mom would have gotten a kick out of. But yeah, they took me in. And for those of you that are, saying, well, where are your children during all this? My children were helping me, but my children also respected me enough that when I said, I'm not ready to be right here, right now, I need to go and I need to make this trip and I need to go around and I need to see everybody. I don't know why it's needed, but I know it's needed. And it may be my last chance for all I know. So I'm going around this summer and I'm seeing all my friends and my family that I can get in. And I'm going to as many temples as I can and different wards of the church. And I am praising the Lord. My prayer is that what I'm going through can help others, even if it's just to lift them up, to know that God is there for them. If He could take me out of a blazing building at 3 o'clock in the morning when I can barely walk and get me to safety, He can handle whatever you're going through. You just gotta let Him. Just let Him. Sometimes it's just that. It's just releasing it and letting Him take over. I'm gonna stop this here. I'm sure I'll have some other opportunities to tell you, things that have happened and what have you, but a lot of people were wanting to know that. So I wanted to share it. And I also wanted, I don't know, did I already tell you this part? With UPS having a hard time accepting that I live where I live and where I send my package to, I cannot really at this point make an Amazon list that, people could send me things on my wish list, because there's no place that UPS will deliver them to right now. And where I'm going to be moving around, I don't even know an address that I could say, oh, well, deliver them here and I'll pick them up, because I don't know when I'll be there. The best I could do would be to make a list of maybe my son and say, send it there. And when I'm finished with this 6 months, I could use it. But other than that, I don't know what to do. I appreciate those of you that have sent money through PayPal. It has really helped. And it's taken away a lot of fear that I had creeping in. It just seems like everything costs so much more than I thought it would cost. And that's okay. If I have to fast my way through this journey, I will. But God bless. Y'all have a fantastic day. And I will sit here in the heat and hope that UPS actually delivers my packages. Take care, y'all.
Everything from the kitchen that way is definitely fucked.